Hi folks, welcome to the channel. This is the first of many new series that we now be doing here on the channel. This one is called True Survival, where we now share true stories of people that have been in survival situations. In today's story, I want to share with you a brand new story that hasn't been shared anywhere else yet. It's about a father and his two sons. They are from Michigan. The boys are 12 and 14 at the time this happened, and their dad is 48. So one day in August of 2011, they're heading out in their aluminum boat onto Lake Michigan to go fishing. Their plan was to head over to the nearby Manitou Islands and fish around there. But when they arrived at the islands, the winds were so strong that it actually pushed them back towards the mainland. While they're out on the lake, the weather takes a turn and a storm rolls in. The wind picks up and the waves get bigger. And before they know it, they're being hit by 6 to 7 foot waves. Their boat begins to take on water, and eventually they have water up to their seats. The motor dies, and they're now at the mercy of the wind and the waves. At this point, they start bailing out the water with a bucket that's in the boat, and they even use their life jackets as well. But it's not enough. The boat is filling up with water faster than they can bail it out. The dad then makes a decision to abandon ship. He helps the boys put on their life jackets, and they all jump into the water. They stay close to the boat and start swimming towards an island that is about 200 yards away from them. While they're in the water, they have to deal with 50 to 60 mile per hour winds and 6 to 7 foot waves. The dad later said it was probably the most difficult swim he'd ever done in his entire life. After about 20 minutes of swimming, the boys begin to get tired. The oldest son tells his dad that he is getting tired and asks if they should just give up. His dad tells him no and continues to encourage him to keep going. The dad later said he was afraid that if he let his boys give up, they might panic and all 3 of them could end up drowning. They finally make it to shore and get out of the water. They were soaked, cold, hungry, and tired. They find some sticks and build a small fire, and then they lay down on the beach to dry off and warm up. A couple hours later, they respotted, and a Coast Guard vessel arrives and takes them off the island and brings them back to the mainland. It turns out the boys had actually been reported missing a few hours earlier when they didn't show up at their friend's house like they had planned. The friend had come out to the dock to look for them, and when he spotted their empty boat on the dock and called in the Coast Guard. All 3 of them survived this ordeal, but the dad credits his boys for helping them all survive. He says that if not for their strength, he's not sure if they all would have made it. Here are some of the things that he said after the incident. When you have small children, you don't realize how strong they are. Both my boys did an outstanding job. I really couldn't have made it without them. My youngest son, even though he was scared, had a lot of strength. My other son kept telling me, "Dad, you can do it," which helped push me along. He said it was the hardest thing he'd ever done. And my oldest son, even though he was saying he was tired, kept putting his hand on my shoulder, helping push me along. One of the things I am hearing a lot lately on this channel is that people don't want to rely on their cell phones. They want to have other means of communication in case of an emergency. This is a handheld radio that runs off of a hand crank. You can also charge it using a solar panel or simply plug it into a wall. It has a digital AM/FM radio as well as weather radio. The weather radio will pick up local NOAA weather stations and alert you in case of any severe weather in your area. It also has a flashlight with red and blue flashing mode for nighttime use. All right, let's get back to this story. The dad also wanted to thank the Coast Guard. He said they did an outstanding job. They came out immediately and began searching for them. He said that although they were missing for a long time, the Coast Guard never gave up and continued to search for them. He said if it wasn't for the Coast Guard, he doesn't think they would have made it. In my opinion, his family was very lucky. First of all, that they were prepared with life jackets. And secondly, that they were only about 200 yards from shore when they jumped into the water. Had they been further out in the lake, this story may have had a much different ending. When they jumped into the water, the dad knew the odds of surviving this were slim. He said he knew that hypothermia would be their biggest enemy, and that the colder the water, the less time they'd have to get out. Hypothermia claims many lives each year in the United States and Canada. The water temperature of Lake Michigan in early August is around 60 degrees. Humans can only survive in water that cold for a few hours. But the biggest threat isn't necessarily the cold water. It is actually the shock of entering the cold water that can cause you to gasp and inhale water into your lungs. This can lead to drowning. This is why it is so important to wear a life jacket whenever you be out on the water, especially if you plan on being out for longer periods of time. In this case, the life jackets definitely played a role in keeping these guys alive. And the fact that the dad knew that the water temperature would keep them warm for very long is another reason they survived. He quickly made the decision to get them out of the boat and into the water where they had a better chance of surviving. Another reason they survived is because the dad was a strong swimmer. Had he not been a strong swimmer, they may not have made it to shore. Even though the boys had to swim 200 yards, the dad had to swim at least 500 yards, maybe even a little bit more. I think another factor that helped them survive was their positive attitude. Even though the oldest son was exhausted and told his dad that he was tired, he still encouraged his dad to keep going, knowing that if they quit, they'd likely all drown. And finally, they were only 200 yards from shore. Had they been further out in the lake, this story could have had a much different ending. But because they were only 200 yards away, they were able to make it to shore and survive. So what lessons can we learn from this story? First of all, always wear a life jacket when you're out on the water. Secondly, know your limits. Don't head out onto a lake or a river if you know you won't be able to handle the conditions that are out there. Thirdly, have a plan in place in case something goes wrong. And finally, keep a positive attitude. It could save your life. This family's story could have had a much different ending, but they were prepared and they were able to make it through. I hope you enjoyed this episode of True Survival. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. Also, let us know in the comments below what you thought of the video. We're always looking for new ideas and ways to improve our videos. If you've been out on the water and had a crazy survival story, or maybe you've heard of one, please contact us and share it with us. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do. And we'll see you in the next video. Stay safe.